I'm honestly a bit scared to make this video because when I've previously voiced my opinions about this case online, I've always gotten like at least 3 death threats from bunnies. I've also been insulted so many times I can't even count them. So yeah, I'm a bit scared, but honestly it's not my fault that the facts aren't in newjeans' favor. Anyways, let me actually present the video. Hi beauties, my name is Yu, and today I will be breaking down the entire timeline of the newjeans vs Adore case, from the Min press conference to the recent lawsuit against Danielle, her mom, and Min. I know this case has gotten extremely messy and even confusing with time, so I wanted to make a video basically going over everything that's happened so far. Before we start, I have a small disclaimer, mostly for bunnies. I'm not throwing any hate towards the newjeans girls. Yes, I do think they've made stupid decisions, but they are facing the consequences of their actions now, and that's what matters. They will hopefully learn from this and manage to just go on with their lives as best as possible. I will only be stating facts that can be easily found in articles online. Though I will occasionally be giving my opinion, I am in no way forcing anyone to think that way as well. Also, this has nothing to do with the newjeans thing, but English isn't my native language, so I apologize if you can't understand what I'm saying at some points. I'll add subtitles on the video so you can always read them if you're having a hard time understanding me. With that out of the way, let's start. So, the issue started when Hype hit Adore with a sudden internal audit. They accused Adore's CEO, Min of plotting to take newjeans and go independent, and demanded she step down immediately. Min wasn't having it. She completely shut down the accusations, calling them utterly ridiculous and dumbfounding. According to her, Hype's sudden attack was actually a payback. She claimed the corporate backlash only started because she had internally blown the whistle on Eyelid, calling them outright newjeans copycats. Min argued that Eyelid was basically copy-pasting newjeans' entire brand identity, including hair, makeup, fashion choices, choreography, photo shoots, music videos, even down to how they carried themselves at public events, which is like completely crazy to me. And also all of these accusations about Eyelid copying newjeans literally were disproven in court later on, so doesn't really make sense at all. Because yes, you'll see a lot of bunnies saying that Min won against Believe Lab, Eyelid's agency, which is true. However, the judge literally said that she only won because she was stating an opinion, and she had the freedom to do so, not because the opinion itself was true. You'll see more about this whole Eyelid copying newjeans thing later on, so don't worry about it. On September 11th, the 5 members of newjeans did a surprise livestream on a newly created YouTube channel. They didn't give prior notice to the media, fans, or Adore. The channel and video were permanently deleted immediately after airing. The members explicitly clarified that Min did not orchestrate the broadcast. They planned and initiated it themselves because they felt the ongoing corporate war was actively threatening them. During the live, Hanni recounted a specific moment on the 4th floor of the Hype building. While waiting in the hallway, she greeted another Hype idol group, which we later found out is Eyelid, only to hear the group's manager say, "Ignore her," right in front of her. When Hanni brought this up to Adore's newly appointed CEO, Kim Young, she felt completely dismissed. Kim told her it was too late, there was no proof, and allegedly tried to make Hanni feel like a liar. Haerin expressed anxiety over the fact that private Tiny-era videos and sensitive medical records belonging to the members had been leaked to the public. The livestream also mentioned the fallout between Adore's new management and Shin Woo-seok, the director behind newjeans' music videos. Adore forced the deletion of newjeans-related creative content from the director's channels, which the members stated they never wanted deleted. The group declared that Min is completely irreplaceable and essential to newjeans' artistic identity. They called Hype an inhumane company. The members gave Adore 2 weeks to reinstate Min as CEO and restore the label to its original state. Minji concluded that this was the only way they could foresee coexisting peacefully with Hype. Okay, so on October 15th, Hanni provided the exact context for the hallway incident she previously raised in the livestream, this time at the National Assembly. She explained that during the university festival season, she had finished her hair and makeup early and was waiting alone in a hallway at the Hype building. 3 members from Eyelid walked past with their manager, and Hanni politely greeted them. When they passed by again 5 to 10 minutes later, the manager made direct eye contact with Hanni and told the idols just ignore her, pretend you didn't see her. Adore CEO Kim Young testified that she did everything in her power as manager to protect the artist, but was deeply frustrated that she could not find definitive proof to back up Hanni's claims. On November 29, the members held an emergency press conference. The funny thing about this is that they had programmed it an hour before the deadline for Adore to respond was finished, so they actually had to reschedule it to an hour later when they realized, and they didn't even address Adore's response at all anyways. Hanni delivered the core message. Adore has neither the ability nor the will to protect newjeans. staying at the agency will only prolong our psychological pain and waste our time. They declared that because Adore breaches foundational obligations, their exclusive contracts will legally terminate at midnight. The group issued a follow-up statement, saying they had already fully paid back all initial investments to Adore and owed them nothing. However, major industry groups publicly condemned the move. They called the unilateral termination irresponsible and a dangerous precedent that could shake the very foundation of the K-pop system by normalizing contract breaches without a court order. Adore flatly rejected the termination, stating that the contract remained in full effect and that a unilateral breach of trust was not legal grounds to leave. In December, Adore sued to confirm the contract validity. On March 7, 2025, the first injunction took place. I'm gonna break down the claims from newjeans' side and then I'm gonna go into detail for each, including the evidence and the rebuttal from Adore's side. Number 1. Kicking out minji. Number 2. Hanni getting ignored. Number 3. Adore sabotaging newjeans, which includes point A trying to replace them with eyelid and point B diminishing their success. 4. Source music leaking trainee videos. 5. We've already made enough money claim. And number 6, Adore failing to meet newjeans' demands. For point 1, kicking out minji, newjeans argued that the removal of the former CEO in August 2024 was a severe breach of managerial duty. They claimed that removing the creative head who engineered their entire identity created a management vacuum, making it impossible for the group to continue their intended artistic direction. As evidence, the group cited their own public ultimatum to Hybe demanding minji's reinstatement, proving that the foundation of their career was bound to her leadership. Adore argued that separating corporate management from creative production is a standard industry practice, not a breach of an artist's contract. They argued that an artist signs with a company, not an individual executive. As for evidence, Adore submitted proof that they retained expert creative staff and offered minji a continuation of her role as newjeans' primary creative producer, which she declined. They argued that they tried to preserve the group's identity but were stonewalled by the members. Point 2. Hanni getting ignored. The members argued that Adore failed in its duty to protect them from emotional distress, active discrimination, and workplace bullying within the larger Hybe corporate structure. Hanni testified about an incident where Eyelid's manager told 3 of the members to just ignore and walk past her right in front of her. The legal team argued that crucial video evidence of this interaction was intentionally deleted, unpreserved, or hidden by Adore or Hybe executives to protect the corporate hierarchy rather than the artist. Adore argued that the ignore her incident was heavily distorted, exaggerated, and used in bad faith to create a false narrative of workplace bullying. Adore submitted early Kakao Talk messages between Hanni and minji, in which Hanni stated, and I quote, "Those 4 came out of the styling room again and I heard the door open, followed by their manager saying just pretend you don't know her and walk past. I can't remember if those were the exact words, but it was something like that. So when they passed by, the manager completely avoided looking at me, and one member just looked towards the manager while saying something like, yes, I'll just pretend I don't know her." This contradicts her statement at the National Assembly where she said that the manager had locked eyes with her. Then minji started saying, "Did she say ignore her? Then everyone ignored you? Did all the Eyelid members ignore you? Was the manager telling them not to accept your greeting?" And Hanni replied she wasn't sure. In a really mature message from her, Hanni said, "I totally understand why the girls would be uncomfortable and awkward when they see us, because there's so much rivalry between our teams in the media and inside the company, so I fully get that." And then she proceeded to say, "So rather than feeling bad, it was honestly kind of funny. It just made me think once again, we're really working with such great people. I really don't care about them at all, so if you're worried about that, don't be." Which is kinda ridiculous to me, because if you honestly just found it funny and didn't really care, why are you bringing this up in court as evidence of workplace bullying? Also in the National Assembly, Hanni said that the members didn't greet her, but in these messages she contradicts herself, saying, and I quote, "The second redacted saw me, she seemed shocked but still bowed, but she just seemed very shocked and uncomfortable greeting me. Her body and face kind of froze. Another redacted just looked at me and bowed and said hello very softly, but also she seemed very stiff and uncomfortable." Adore flatly denied deleting footage. They brought forward technical logs showing that internal building CCTV data automatically overrides after 30 days due to law protocols. Because the incident was reported weeks after it allegedly happened, the footage was already naturally wiped. It wasn't a targeted cover-up. Trying to replace them with Eyelid. The members alleged that Hybe and Adore actively conspired to diminish newjeans' success and eventually replace them with newer groups that mimic their style. newjeans' legal team brought forward a leaked internal Hybe document from May 2023. The report mentioned a strategy that said, "Throw away new to make I." They argued this proved an official corporate intent to abandon newjeans. Adore argued that the leaked industry report was completely taken out of context. It was an internal compilation of market trends, community public sentiment, and competitive analysis. Adore presented the broader text of the document to the judges, demonstrating that the throwaway new to make I, interpreted by the members as a plan to replace them, was a standard internal acronym used to evaluate market positioning against competitor agencies, not an eviction notice for newjeans. They argued that analyzing market risks does not equal corporate sabotage. They were basically saying that they wanted to change an association of some groups, and while newjeans said that the I was eyelid, the document was made before eyelid was even starting to be planned as a group, and Adore explained it was talking about Hive. Diminishing their success, newjeans argued that Hive violated its primary legal duty to protect and promote its artists. They claimed that Hive was running a negative PR campaign to intentionally diminish newjeans' perceived market value, making them look less successful than they actually were to lower public and investor sentiments. A journalist had written an article praising newjeans' historic concerts at the Tokyo Dome, stating that they had sold 1 million copies of their album Supernatural in Japan. Adore argued that the PR representative was strictly carrying out a legally mandated duty to correct false financial data. As a publicly traded conglomerate, Hive is bound by strict investor protection laws. Adore submitted the official sales data, showing that the Supernatural album had sold 50,000 copies in Japan, not the 1 million stated in the article, which was a global figure. Adore argued that allowing an article to falsely report inflated regional sales numbers would mislead stockholders and could trigger massive legal penalties or investigations for stock manipulation. Source music trainee videos leaking. Newjeans and their parents argued that Hive actively leaked or allowed the leak of confidential, unreleased footage from the members under its trainee days to the media. They argued that using vulnerable, private footage of them as children as ammunition in a corporate smart campaign completely shattered any remaining duty of care or trust required in an exclusive contract. In July 2024, Dispatch published private training, vocal evaluation, and dance practice videos of the newjeans members from their time under Source Music. The footage showed the members when they were as young as 12 to 14 years old, practicing choreography in a private setting. Alongside the videos, private text messages between minji and staff, as well as logs detailing the members' training histories, were made public. The legal team argued that this could only have been obtained and leaked by internal corporate entities, who held the original master files. Adore and Source Music denied maliciously leaking the underage footage to Dispatch. Instead, they framed the existence of the files as a necessary legal defense to correct a public narrative. Adore brought forward financial ledgers and training logs from Source Music. They argued that Minji had publicly claimed she single-handedly discovered, raised, and created newjeans from scratch. Source Music used the training footage internally to legally prove that the parent company had heavily scouted, funded, and managed the girls' foundational training years before Adore was even created. They argued the files were part of a corporate audit trail regarding asset allocation, not a smart campaign against minors. Adore announced that their legal representatives were aggressively preparing lawsuits against Dispatch for the unauthorized release of the trainee videos. "We've already made enough money." The members argued that their exclusive contracts should be dissolved because they had completely fulfilled any financial obligation to the company. They pointed out that they had already generated massive revenue for Adore that far exceeded the initial corporate investment used to debut them. Because they were no longer indebted to the agency for training costs, they argued they shouldn't be trapped in a toxic working environment. They provided documented financial tracking of their album sales, massive global streaming numbers, and high-profile luxury brand ambassadorships from 2022 to late 2024. Adore issued a formal 22-page legal rebuttal. They argued that generating profit does not grant an artist the legal right to unilaterally walk away from a binding timeline contract. Adore's legal team stated, "An exclusive contract is not a debt payoff agreement. It is a legally binding temporal partnership." Adore provided evidence that they had consistently and correctly distributed a multi-million-dollar payouts to the members on time, meaning the agency had fully satisfied its financial obligations. Adore failing to meet newjeans' demands. On November 13, 2024, newjeans sent a formal legal notice demanding Adore fix all contract violations within 14 days. When the 14 days ended, they held a midnight press conference declaring their contract officially terminated because Adore failed to fix the issues. They publicly released Adore's official response letter, which was delivered to the members just 1 hour before the press conference. They argued the letter was filled with an empty, non-committal language and proved Adore had no intention of acting. Adore argued that newjeans' 14-day window was an artificial trap designed to force an impossible ultimatum. Adore presented proof to the court that they did act reasonably. They documented that many of newjeans' demands, like punishing staff from other labels like Belief Lab or changing Hive's corporate board structure, were legally outside of Adore's jurisdiction as a single subsidiary. Adore argued that the girls' demands were intentionally abstract and overly broad, so that Adore would inevitably fail the 14-day deadline, giving the group a manufacturer's excuse to declare immediate freedom. They also stated that newjeans had prepared the press conference before the deadline to meet the demands, changing it to 1 hour later when they realized they didn't even read Adore's response. The members declared their exclusive contracts terminated due to a breakdown of trust and began operating independently under a new name, NJZ. Because contract termination disputes take months or years to resolve in a main trial, Adore filed an emergency preliminary injunction to protect its corporate assets. Adore's goal was to legally freeze the members from performing, signing brand deals, or releasing music outside of Adore's authority until the court could officially rule on whether the original contracts were still valid. The Seoul Central District Court fully ruled in favor of Adore, issuing a crushing blow to the group's independence. The court ordered that newjeans must completely refrain from performing individually or through any third party without Adore's prior consent. To ensure enforcement, the judge ordered that if the group or any member violated this ruling by engaging in independent entertainment activities, each member must pay 1 billion Korean won per violation directly to Adore. The court stated that an executive change, the dismissal of Min Hee-jin, is a standard corporate board decision and does not legally constitute as a management vacuum or a breach of an artist's contract. The court clarified that personal trust in a single executive does not invalidate a contract signed with a corporation. This was important because this happened back in March 21st. Meanwhile, on March 23rd, newjeans were scheduled to perform in ComplexCon Hong Kong. They headlined the festival. Despite the court ruling just 2 days prior affirming Adore's legal management rights, the group chose to completely bypass Adore. They performed under the self-made name NJZ rather than newjeans. They performed a 1-hour set of solo covers and debuted an independent single titled Pit Stop. Immediately following the debut of Pit Stop, the members delivered an emotional speech in English and Korean announcing an indefinite hiatus. They explicitly stated they were pausing all group's activities out of respect for the court's decision. On March 24th, Adore revealed that the entire Hong Kong performance, the name change to NJZ, the new song release, and the hiatus announcement were done completely without prior consultation, discussion, or approval from the agency. Adore staff present at the venue were completely ignored and had zero direct contact with members during the event. Adore expressed deep regret over the situation, reaffirming that the exclusive contracts with all 5 members remain legally valid. They urged the members to stop independent operations and sit down for an official meeting to discuss their future. On October 30th, the court finally made a final ruling in favor of Adore. It stated that an artist signs a binding exclusive contract with a corporation, not an individual executive. The removal of Min Hee-jin as CEO by the board of directors was deemed a standard internal corporate restructuring. For a multi-million-dollar keep-up contract to be nullified, the agency must actively fail to fulfill core duties, such as withholding payments or completely neglecting the artist. Adore proved it had paid the members falsely, on time, and had even completed demo tracks for a new album to support their career. The court also dismissed newjeans' secondary complaints, including allegations regarding leaked trainee videos and the workplace bullying controversy involving Hanni. The judge deemed these incidents insufficient to prove that Adore had abandoned or fundamentally failed its primary duties as a management agency. Now, initially, the members were deeply shocked and defiant. Their legal team released an immediate statement saying that while they respected the court, the members felt it was impossible to return to a company where trust is completely shattered, and they vowed to appeal. Realizing that an appeal process could drag on for years, effectively freezing their youth and careers, Hanni, haerin, and hyein made the pragmatic decision to completely drop their legal appeals and pivot toward an organized return. A major focal point of the negotiations was dealing with the legal liabilities the girls had incurred while operating independently. Haerin, hyein, and Hanni requested that Adore help them legally undo and resolve the unauthorized third-party arrangements they had entered into as NJZ. Adore met them halfway. The agency publicly announced they had already completed preparations for a new album and promised full support to restart newjeans group promotions, ensuring the returning members wouldn't be locked in the basement as punishment. Minji's situation was handled completely differently from haerin, hyein, and Hanni, who returned as a unit. Minji did not immediately sign a return agreement. Adore's executive team treated her case with extreme care, later reporting to the press that discussions regarding Minji's future were progressing positively. While Hanni, haerin, and hyein successfully navigated their way back and Minji entered positive talks, Danielle became the ultimate outlier, refusing to negotiate or correct contract breaches, which ultimately resulted in her contract termination and Adore's massive ongoing damages lawsuit against her. Adore filed a massive civil damages lawsuit against Danielle, her mother, and former CEO Min Hee-jin. Adore claims that Danielle bears the primary responsibility for the group's rock breakaway, delayed return, and subsequent loss of corporate revenue. Now, I'm not gonna go too deep into this case since it's still ongoing, but I will be breaking down Adore's 4 claims and the evidence supporting them. Number 1. Chinese contract. Number 2. Business partnership. Number 3. Independent deals. And number 4. Danielle not cooperating. Chinese contract. Adore alleges that Danielle, including alongside Min Hee-jin, committed a severe direct violation of her exclusive contract by entering into a double contract with an outside management entity backed by Chinese capital. Adore argues that Danielle and her mother deliberately concealed it to preserve an independent exit route. Adore submitted physical contract documents proving that the newjeans members signed an exclusive contract agreement with a Cayman Islands-based company called AAO. AAO was established by the Chinese capitalized organizers of ComplexCon Hong Kong, which is where newjeans perform. Adore highlighted sections of the AAO contract stating that the members were legally obligated to report all newjeans entertainment activities and confidential internal Adore management data to AAO. The contract had a 9-month duration with a clause for automatic renewal. To prove the concealment charge against Danielle specifically, Adore presented transcripts of private conversations among the members' parents. In the logs, Danielle's mother explicitly instructed the other parents to avoid answering any of Adore's questions regarding past third-party discussions, and demanded they communicate with the levels solely through their law firm. Business partnership. Adore argues that Danielle, the other members' families, and minji explicitly breached the contract's standard non-compete and exclusivity clauses by establishing an independent commercial cooperative. Adore's legal team asserted that this entity functioned as a fully operational rogue entertainment agency that funded independent promotions and directly violated the court's preliminary injunction. Adore obtained and submitted the official charter and bylaws of the secret partnership. Adore pointed out a critical smoking gun clause in the text. The bylaws explicitly stated that financial profits generated by their activities would be systematically distributed among its members. Adore uses to obliterate the defense that this was just a group fund, proving it was a commercial business vehicle built to bypass Adore's profit-sharing structure. Adore provided bank statements and invoices proving that these cooperative's funds were used to independently run entertainment operations. Specifically, the cooperative directly paid for the venue rental fees for newjeans November 2024 contract termination press conference, the design and production cost for the unauthorized NJC Red Debut logo, rehearsal room rental fees arranged by minji, which Adore noted were also intended to secretly house an unapproved rookie group, and out-of-pocket staff and production costs to execute the Rock ComplexCon Hong Kong performance. Adore highlighted the egregious timing of these financial transactions. The cooperative actively deployed funds to stage the Hong Kong concert after the Seoul Central District Court had already ruled that Adore held exclusive management rights. Adore argued this proved a deliberate bad faith contempt of court. Independent deals. Understand that K-pop contracts, an artist's image, voice, and name are the exclusive intellectual property of the agency. Adore argued that Danielle explicitly breached this clause by booking recording sessions and fashion shoots completely outside of Adore's management pipelines. Adore asserted that a breach is defined by the act of performing unauthorized entertainment work, meaning the absence of a released product or financial compensation does not magically erase the legal violation. Adore revealed that Danielle had unilaterally progressed an independent musical project with the American R&B band Emotional Oranges. As concrete proof, Adore submitted a screenshot from May 19, 2025, showing Danielle's photo uploaded directly to Emotional Oranges' official account. Adore presented financial audits showing that Emotional Oranges had already invested $175,000 into artist and production costs for this track. Adore used a significant investment to argue that vocal recordings and substantial entertainment activities had already taken place. Adore brought forward physical evidence of unauthorized modeling campaigns Danielle completed under the NJC era. They submitted her cover features and pictorial spreads for Elle Singapore and Paris Capital magazine, as well as unapproved commercial work leveraging her relationship with the luxury watch brand Omega. Adore argued that fashion magazines are strictly commercial publications that profit off an idol brand, because Danielle's ability to land these gigs was entirely built on the popularity and resources Adore invested to create her public status. Doing these shoots independently, even if done for free, was a direct siphoning of Adore's corporate assets. Danielle not cooperating. Adore argues that the other 4 members operated in good faith once the legal boundaries were set. When the court ruled that the contracts were valid, these 4 members immediately came to the table, confessed to the unauthorized third-party agreements they had entered into as NJC, such as ComplexCon or the AAO contract, and actively cooperated with Adore to legally dissolve them. Danielle and her mother are accused of treating the court's injunction as a mere suggestion, hiding critical evidence, and actively sabotaging the restoration of corporate trust. Adore submitted transcribed group chats and audio recordings of a meeting held between the members' parents. In the transcript, Danielle's mother explicitly instructs the other parents to dodge questions from Adore regarding past business dealings, telling them to pretend they don't know anything and to route all communication strictly through a specific law firm. Adore revealed that Danielle's mother participated in discussions to bypass the court's injunctions. Adore submitted logs showing the mother discussing retroactively applying the contract signing date for the Emotional Oranges collaboration to make it look like it occurred before the court's ruling. Furthermore, she suggested paying the $175,000 protection funds through Danielle's older sister's separate business account to avoid Adore's auditing. Adore submitted evidence proving that minji had explicitly instructed Danielle's mother along with Minji's mother to secretly record their negotiation meetings with Adore executives to gather ammunition, rather than negotiating in a good faith. Adore proved that while the other members authorized the label to dismantle the NJC dual contract with Chinese-backed AAO, Danielle and her camp dug their heels in, refused to sign the termination paperwork, and forced Adore to legally eject her in December 2025 due to a complete breakdown of trust. Now, what I've seen a lot of bunnies asking is, if Adore didn't mistreat the girls, then why were they so set on leaving the company? Which is honestly a really valid question. I can actually answer that with just 2 words, minji. Let me show you all the evidence that's been submitted in court about minji tampering with newjeans, manipulating them, and making them lie. Now, remember when I said back in the very beginning of the video that the newjeans girls had done a live stream on September 11th demanding Adore bring minji back as a CEO? Remember how the girls said they'd done that by themselves and that minji wasn't involved? Well, yeah, that was a lie. In court, Adore submitted an explosive audio recording to the court dated September 2nd, 2024, 9 days before the YouTube livestream. The recording captures minji telling the members' parents that the livestream must go on. She explicitly notes in the audio that the broadcast is necessary to create evidence for the termination lawsuit, directly contradicting her claims of non-involvement and framing it as a premeditated legal strategy to break their contracts. Do you also remember ComplexCon? Well, the performance agreement outlines a $500,000 consulting fee specifically designated for minji, while all the 5 members were to collectively split a lesser amount of $350,000, which means she was directly profiting of them going independent. Oh, and that's not all, of course. Messages between minji and her close confidants, including a shaman who advised her on Adore's management, outlined scripts to seize the company, exit strategies to force Hive to sell its Adore shares, and coordinated public relations campaigns designed to weaponize public opinion against Hive. While an initial civil court in early 2024 noted these actions looked like betrayal, but hadn't crossed yet into fully executed contract breaches, subsequent criminal prosecutors reviewed these exact logs and formally cleared Hive executives of defamation. The prosecution affirmed that Hive's claims regarding minji's plotting and shaman management were factually grounded in her own text history. We can also bring up the hanni and minji messages, where the mistreatment narratives popularized by the members were entirely manufactured by minji to create a legally justifiable reason to break their contracts. Adore claims minji intentionally instructed the parents to aggressively document and amplify minor internal conflicts, most notably the ignore her incident. Adore argues this was used strategically as a pre-planned legal weapon to paint the company as an abusive environment. There's more examples that have been shown in court, but I think you get the point by now. The main reason why I made this video was to break down the timeline of everything and to go into more detail on the legal matters, since a lot of people skipped over that for some reason. As I said in the beginning, I don't wish any harm to any of the girls. They're facing the consequences of their own actions, which is to be expected, and that's honestly more than enough for me. Any hate directed towards the members as people will be deleted, as well as any attacks thrown at me. Yes, I did state my opinions at some points, but the facts were just that, facts. So don't shoot the messenger just because you don't like the message. Anyways, I hope this video helped to clarify the entire situation regarding Adore and newjeans. See you in the next one. Take care!